Hello, everyone. Yes, today is Monday, April the 3rd, the first Monday of the year. First Monday of April, not the year, first Monday of April. So, welcome. I am your host today, Honorable Valencia Stovall, and yet you are listening to another exciting episode on Answers, Issues, and Answers. Today, you'll be listening to the new WCEG Network. We're a worldwide community empowerment group where we speak life into the community. WCEGTalkRadio.com. Click live stream tab or watch us live on your smart TV, YouTube, Twitter, Facebook, and LinkedIn. WCEG Network, subscribe free to our YouTube channel, WCEG Network, and like or follow us on a new platform. So now we have a new platform, you all. We are on the iOS, Apple, iPhones, iPads. You can go to your Apple store, and you can search for WCEG Talk Radio, Apple TV, search WCEG Network TV, or Apple Watch, or you can search on your Android mobile phone, tablets. Go to Google Play Store, search WCEG Talk Radio, and you will be able to find us. Disclaimer, remember that the topics and opinions are those of the show hosts and guests and not of WCEG Network. Thank you for your continued support, and we appreciate you all listening. And today we are going to have a very, very good show because we're going to be talking about the good, the bad, and the say what of what happened during the legislative session. So, of course, you know that the session ended last week. And also, I want to wish everybody happy spring break week. For those parents, for the teachers and educators, they're excited. They get a whole week. And for the parents, they might not be so excited because you get a chance to go on vacation with your kids. And then others who can't go on vacation, of course, they're wondering how much food are they going to have to buy every 2 days, 2 or 3 days when they get for the rest of this spring break time. So good luck to y'all parents on that. And so, last episode, I don't know what's going on with my time. The last episode, we talked about the single parents, how we commended the single parents across Georgia. Actually, we had a 3-part celebration for the first time since 2019. And would you believe that there are still some people who do not know that March the 21st is Georgia Single Parent Day? Well, I thank God for allowing me to be surrounded around great people with caring hearts like Beverly Brewster, Tom Macbeth, Lenora Daniel, and the entire planning committee. They help to plan this big event every year. Walter Fletcher, Annette Bowen, Angela Lindsay, Cleve Porter, Doris Thomas, Lori Wallace, Minna Marie Andrews, who served as our mistress of ceremony and also was one of our last year's finalists for the Legacy Builders Award. And she came in from Augusta. So Minna Marie was there down at the state capitol on that Tuesday. And then she came back, drove back to Atlanta for our event on that Saturday. And also our other committee members are Tiffany Bacon and Dr. LaWanda Falami. Of course, I thank my family and friends who are always present and very supportive. Many of y'all may or may not know I was a single parent raising 2 children and survived. Yeah, survived. So this recognition each year gives me and others involved with us on that planning community opportunities to reach back. This year we recognize 34 single parents representing all across this state. We started at the Georgia State Capitol on March the 21st, which is the official Single Parent Day in Georgia. The honorees and their families and friends met with lawmakers when they were down there. They got a chance to experience the high energy during session. They got a chance to talk with their legislators. They got a chance also to see what actually takes place during a legislative session. And many of them said that was their first time ever being able to come and visit the state capitol. So, that in itself was great, because we gave an opportunity for those who did not know how the process of laws are created in the state of Georgia to actually see if they got a chance to take a picture with Governor Kemp and his wife. First Lady Marty Kemp was present in the picture, and of course got a chance to take a lot of pictures. They attended 2 workshops that we believe were beneficial for them, to help them, to give them that encouragement that they need to continue on to raise their children to be productive citizens here in Georgia. And so now that was during the morning time. Then that evening, about 7 o'clock, we all gathered at Golden Glide Skating Ring in Decatur. Yes, off of Wesley Chapel Road. And that was actually Georgia Single Parent Family Skate Night. And so we really appreciate Mr. Rob Davis, the owner of Golden Glide Skating Ring, for allowing us to have that dedicated night to celebrate our single parents. And they came out, they were skating, and we were able to take pictures. And no, I did not skate. In my mind, I was skating, but physically, I did not skate. Well, one reason was because I knew I had to get ready for the event on Saturday. And so I didn't want to break a leg or, cause any kind of prohibition for me being able to attend the Legacy Builders Award. So that's my story. I'm gonna stick with it. Okay, but also then our finale for part 3 of 3 was held on Saturday, March the 25th. And that's when we actually celebrated, recognized all 34 honorees. So we had finalists, then we had 3 different types of categories of awardees. We had our Overcomer Founder awardees. Then we had a new award that we gave out this year called the Ruth Brewster, Mother Ruth Brewster Award, Endurance Award. And then we have our finalists, and then we had our honorees. So whenever anyone is nominated for our Georgia Single Parent event, everyone receives an award. Some have, of course, done more outstanding things, accomplished more, or have had to overcome more. And we definitely do distinguish them out. But everyone that's nominated receive an award, because we believe if someone took the time to nominate you to be able to receive this award, you should be honored. And many, would you believe, we had people coming all the way from California, Louisiana, South Carolina. So they came from out of Georgia to come and celebrate their recipient of their honoree that they were coming there to see. So it's a big deal. We would, it was just an overjoying time. My dad and Miss Katie joined us there. And so he was our special guest. And then we heard from Mr. Melvin Kelly, who gave a great selection. He gave 2 selections. Now, the last selection, I thought we were going to have to open the doors of the church and do an altar call, because it was a very anointed song that he sung. And then, of course, always thanks to State Representative Kim Schofield, who has came on board and partnering with us since the time I left the session. And so she's our connect down at the state capitol, one of many connects. And she definitely gave uplifting words of encouragement to our audience, and share with them her experience as a single parent by choice, raising her daughter to now be in a very successful career in the film industry. So those are words of encouragement. We appreciate her. We know she was running, getting there, and then had another stop, but we appreciate her taking time. Thanks to our sponsors. I had to take the time to thank them, and patrons, Melodies for the Mind, Antonio Mahoney. Thank you for bringing your services with DJing. Sharon Daniel, Allen Printing Company. We appreciate them. Printing of our programs, America Group, James the Life Coach, National Parents Union, Golden Glide Skating Ring, you heard me mention earlier, International Church Ushers of Georgia. From down in the South, we say Ushers, but I think it's Ushers. But Sonesta Hotel, We Thrive in Riverside Renters Association, Val Promotions, GYCC, Georgia Youth Career Center, DeKalb County Commissioner Larry Johnson, who's been there supporting from the start, and the Shining Star Seniors of Bethlehem Baptist in Atlanta, who has adopted our event to support each year. Now, a little side note on the Shining Star Seniors. So as if you all go back on my Facebook page, you can look at some of the footage from that event where I interviewed all of the honorees, people that were being awarded. And this one particular part at the end, I stopped by the table that the Shining Star Seniors were located at, and she made sure I understood that they were from Bethlehem Baptist Church. She gave me the pastor's name, and made sure that I knew that they were part of the Shining Star Seniors. So we had a great time, you all. It was all about laughter and celebration. You know, many of them, like I said, the first time ever receiving an award. So be on the lookout. You know, I'm going to be posting on social media. I'll be talking about it on Issues and Answers when the nominations are going to open back up in November of 2023. So go ahead and start thinking about who those single parents are across in the state of Georgia. Can't be from another state, y'all. We just doing this in Georgia. That who are doing an outstanding job with raising their kids. Now, I think we're talking as a planning committee to include past single parents. So those whose children might be adults now, you know, they may not have gotten a chance to get awarded for what they've done to make sure their children are successful. So I believe we're going to add another category in to be able to recognize past single parents. I don't even know, you know, you end up still being single parent even when the children are adults. So we haven't worked out how that wording is going to be, but be on the lookout. And I appreciate all of you all's support that you have given to this event each year. This was our 4th year actually doing this Georgia Single Parent. Okay, on to the next topic. I want to congratulate now State Representative Eric Bell of House District 75 and Councilman Alfred Dixon of the city of Jonesboro. As you all remember, last month, early part of last month, I had both them and other candidates that were on my show talking to us about what their plans are if they were elected. So I do have to give a special shout out to State Rep Bell and Councilman Dixon, and also on their new positions, and also a special congrats to Monica Delancey, who is actually in a runoff for Mableton City Council District 5. So if any of you all who are listening, who live in the city, the newly formed city of Mableton, definitely check out her website to see what things she's done and what she plans on doing, and why she would be the best candidate for you to support in this runoff. Those numbers are real low when it comes down to people actually going out to vote for runoff, but you all got to show up. And so if you don't live in Cobb County in Mableton, definitely, I know you know somebody to make sure they go. Early voting starts next week, April the 10th through the 14th. There will not be any Saturday or Sunday voting. And then on April the 18th will actually be the day of the election. So make sure that you are telling somebody to go and vote. They could go to my voter page to make sure they check their status. It's always important. You're going to hear me say this all the time. And you know, as I always say, politics is a part of our lives, whether you like the players or not. Everything we do is centered around policies and the people who implement them. So an informed voter is what? A smart voter. When you're informed, then you're able to vote with be smart when you're making your selection. Okay. Now, talking about politics. Yeah, I know some of y'all say, yeah, Valencia, I want to hear about Georgia Single Parent, but I want to hear what you have to say about the end of session. What is actually taking place? What happened for the end of session? And I said, yeah, I have to talk about that because, woo, this was a doozy. Every session is really a doozy. So I can't say, you know, that it's not, but you know, all the sessions are usually, you come out there like, whoo, especially the legislators. So now we're going to talk about the good, the bad, and the say what. So I'm going to mix in a little of the say what with my overview and some of the places I had to go and look and research. You know, I still get some of my former colleagues' newsletters. So I go through those newsletters, cipher through them and see what's similar about what they said and what's different. And that's how I kind of compile my report. I look at some different news media outlets as well to kind of make sure it's in line. But of course, I'm still gonna give you my opinion about everything. Okay, so for those who don't know, the Georgia General Assembly has a 40-day legislative session. During that session, that is the time that bills are created, changed, and passed or failed. Whatever is not passed during that particular 40 days, it is not, and it cannot be sent to the governor for the next step of him either signing it, or he can veto it, or if he does nothing, it automatically becomes law. And he has 40 days after the close of legislative session. So with those 40 days, all kind of things happen. And so though we have 236 legislators that are authorized by our Georgia Constitution to be the ones who actually introduce bills and get it passed. They work both chambers. So it has to pass in the House and it has to pass in the Senate. And then it goes to the governor's desk for final passage. Now, like I said, it's at the discretion of the governor. And I've seen it happen where bills passed the House and the Senate and got to the governor's desk and the governor decided to veto it, which means that it would not pass. Now, those bills that did not make it to the governor's desk and were not voted down, they now are reissued back to, or reassigned back to the committee from where it came from. So the bill is still alive to next session, because you have in Georgia, we have a two-part session, session 1, session 2. So those bills, like I said, they got voted down and failed, then they had to be reintroduced all back over. But for those, they had to start from the very beginning. But for those that weren't voted down, they go back to that committee, and then that committee, now they start at that point of trying to get it moved forward. And some bills did make it over doing crossover, which means they crossed over to the other chamber, and they're probably in that committee over in the other chamber. So they don't have to start back over from scratch. So I just wanted to make sure you all understood that. Okay, in the previous session, in previous episode, not session, I'm still thinking about the legislator. We've talked about a few bills before. So one of them, we talked about the budget a little bit, but the House finally passed the final version of the 2024 budget, House Bill 19, in the amount of $32.4 billion. I didn't say million, y'all, I said billion. And with a spending plan that's attached to it, or how that money is going to be spent across the state. Now, this amount is 2.2 billion more than the previous fiscal year of 2023. So we've had an increase in revenue in the state of Georgia of 2.2 billion. I think the average is about 7% increase as well. And so, which is good. So that means more money. Guess what usually happens? More spending, right? Yeah, that's usually what happens. So let's look at some of those items or areas where there's going to be a lot more spending that's going to be taking place in Georgia. Okay. Now, restoring the Hope Scholarship at 100%. So right now in the state of Georgia, the Hope, which is the money that's set aside when people go and play like that lottery that they play on a regular, and a portion of that amount of money goes into a fund, and then that money is then distributed to help students who cannot afford to be able to pay for their college, or they end up earning a scholarship. So you have the Zell Miller Scholarship that is mostly merit-based, and then you had the Hope Scholarship that at one point ended up turning kind of like to a merit-based, but they kind of changed some of the language in the law that even now it's 100% going to be funded, which is very good, because this keeps our students on the pathway to be able to go to college if that's what they want to be able to do. And so that's a good thing. And so that was one thing that was in the budget. $1 million was added to the budget to authorize Department of Family and Children Services, which we know is DFACS, to hire up to 450 eligibility caseworkers and promote 75 supervisors to help the state prepare for the Medicaid unwinding. So many of you all, I don't know if you've been listening to the news about the special extension that was given during COVID for many people to be able to qualify for Medicaid. Well, as you know, all good things in those cases like that come to an end because it still results back to budget. Who's going to continue to pay for it? So there is a lot of information out there about people who did qualify for Medicaid at that time now need to go back and update their file to see if they still will be able to qualify. So those of you all who, even if you're not sure if you receive Medicaid, just go ahead and go into Gateway, Georgia Gateway, that website where you go and qualify or you got to renew, go in there and check to make sure. But the additional money is to be able to hire more caseworkers. So those of you all who might be needing a job or want to work for the state, there's going to be 450 positions open. And it's good that they are promoting the supervisors. There's a lot of work when you have to deal with people, especially during COVID, when so many people were going through so much, and they just would have attitudes and all kinds. So it takes special people to be in customer service. All right, moving on. 27 million was added to help recruit school counselors. Yay, we need our school counselors. And also to fully fund the quality basic education formula. Many of you all know it as QBE. I'll talk a little bit about that a little bit more later on in the show. But the budget did cut $66 million from higher education, which could result in tuition hike. So y'all be on the lookout for that. I know how you fully fund hope for kids to go to college, and then you cut money from higher ed, which means the college tuition gonna increase. So either way, when you look at it on both sides, the taxpayer is gonna be out some money. Okay, I just want to say that. Okay, Senate Bill 62 has a stated aim to address issues related to chronically unhoused persons, which we call homeless people. The bill prohibits both hospitals and government authorities from transporting and dropping off homeless people outside the jurisdiction, unless those people previously lived in that particular government jurisdiction, or the location of the drop-off is a facility or other location that agreed to accept it. So in other words, what was happening across the state is that when one particular jurisdiction or city or county had a large number of homeless people that you saw sleeping on the outside on the sidewalk or some other places near businesses on the sides of the highway, you all seen those tents. So what some cities were doing in counties, they were picking the people up, putting them on and transporting them and taking them to another jurisdiction that they originally were not living in. So that put a financial hardship and burden on that local jurisdiction, not just them trying to find out where the people are going to be housed, but even if you might have had criminal or crimes that were being committed. So it's a lot of things that goes along with that. But this particular bill says that if you're a local city or a county, a local jurisdiction, you can't be picking up people and dropping them off in another jurisdiction unless it's a facility that said we'll take them or they originally used to live in that area. Now, I don't know how they're going to prove that they used to live there. So it's a lot of, with legislation, a lot of other stuff other questions. But anyway, I'm not going to get into that. Also, another legislation was a mandatory 5-year minimum sentence for people who recruit others into gangs, with a harsher 10-year minimum for those who recruit children under the age of 17 or people with disabilities into gangs. So if you know, or if anybody's out there recruiting people into gangs, they get a mandatory 5-year minimum. If they out there recruiting children that are under 17 or people with disability, their minimum is 10 years. Minimum. You can't negotiate it out or nothing like that. You're going to serve them 5 or 10 years. So another bill, more robust early childhood literacy support. So, of course, you know, last episode, I talked about Chicago having those 55 schools that 0 children were reading on level, 0 children were doing math on level. Well, like I told you, it's not just in Chicago, it's just that Chicago information was out there for the public to hear. But here in Georgia, we have a literacy issue too. We have almost 60% of our third graders are not reading on level, which results into adults who are not literate, who cannot work on jobs, high-paying jobs, because they can't read, they can't comprehend, they can't do math. So that becomes a workforce nightmare in a state when it starts in elementary school, actually starts in early learning with that. So now there's this particular bill says that there are going to be 3 checkups each year for kids from kindergarten to 3rd grade, and a mandatory individualized reading plan within 30 days for kids having trouble. Now, I didn't read all the way through the bill, but I hope that there are funds that have been allocated for those individuals that's going to have to test those kids and then make sure that they get the help and support that they need, because that's a lot. Especially, it's not like you're talking maybe about 10 children out the whole 3rd grade. You're talking a lot of kids. And it's not like they said from kindergarten to 3rd grade. So you think about the ones coming in kindergarten, 1st grade, 2nd grade, and then 3rd grade. And then it said mandatory individualized reading plan. So that means that's work going to have to start the previous year and follow over each year so that those children are not just getting passed on. But y'all know how, when I talk about education. So I'm just giving y'all a highlight. We're not going into deep conversation yet. Okay, SB 233, the Georgia Promise Scholarship Act. The bill failed with some Republicans voting no, which is sometimes surprising. This particular bill creates a voucher program that allows parents of students whose resident school, so the school where they're supposed to attend, their rating is in about 25% of student achievement. So if the school that your child is attending is on this list for being in the bottom 25%, then you would have been eligible for this particular program, scholarship program of $6,500 per student. Now, they were not giving it to the parents in their hand. It was going into an account that was going to be heavily monitored for whatever expenses that the parents put in a request for. So you could have been paying for private school, tutoring. You could be homeschooled and need supplies and things that you need because you want to keep your children at home to homeschool them. So all of that would have been part of this particular bill. And as you all know, I am a supporter of school choice. I never shied away from it. The time before I became elected, during my time of being elected, even after I'm no longer elected, I have not shied away from my stance on that because I believe parents should have the option of what education setting is best for his or her child. Not where the school district says this child should be zoned. You all know I had a bill, a zoning, school zoning bill that I introduced a couple of times when I was elected. The bigger point should be, though, we talked about QBE earlier. Why hasn't QBE or that formula changed since the early 80s or maybe late 80s? It's antiquated. And this is something both parties, Democrats and Republicans, could be on the same page about. Both of them keep talking about we need to fully fund public education. Okay, but what does fully funded education look like? You can't keep throwing the money in there and it's really not going to help support the kids that really need the support. And the thing about being able to change that formula, it's not just for disadvantaged children. It's not just for kids with disabilities, but it also will help those gifted students, those students that are high achievers. So it's not just a one size fit all. The way they need to do the formula would categorize students according to disadvantage, disability, and gifted. So why can't the legislative body get together and go ahead and change the formula? You trying to solve big problems with doing something little this, we're gonna do a little this, we're gonna fully fund education. We're gonna do no, change the formula. And there was an attempt that was made by Governor Deal back during his tenure. I served on the Education Reform Commission, and there was a committee that did extensive research and came up with a proposal, but it never moved. It has gone anywhere. Nobody's picked it back up. Then those who tried to pick it back up, they had to lay it back down. So you as the citizens in Georgia can start saying, change the formula. That need to be the signs. That's what everybody need to be saying. Change the formula. Okay, so now the opposing side to this Scholarship Act bill said that this program takes money away from public schools. But aren't these the same children who would benefit from the scholarship who parents pay taxpayer money? Yes. They also say the amount of $6,500 is too low. Okay. That no low-income parent can afford to pay the difference. I agree that the amount is too low. But guess what, y'all? The reality is, if it was $10,000, they would still be crying about, oh, this taking money away from public schools. So no amount is going to be suffice for them, the ones who are opposing it altogether. So, so I was in a text debate with, back and forth with some of my former colleagues, and of course I told them I'm not going to fall out with them because we disagree, but I'm going to stand and they're going to take their stand. And that's good. I can still respect them at the end of the day. I can still speak to them and all of that. But I have seen what's going on, even now not being elected, working with the organization, all the projects I do, the Teen Summit, and then with GYCC, I'm seeing the effects of those children not getting what they need. And it comes back to accountability. And I asked them, okay, you all want to talk about taxpayer money? What about all the CARES Act money that these school districts receive with no really accountability? They were able to spend the money how they wanted to, as long as they were able to say that this went for learning loss. Come on. There was millions of dollars. So I asked them, has the audit been done to find out how these school districts have spent this CARES money? Okay, I hadn't heard anything back yet, but that's something that they need to work on. We could talk about it, but I think there's a medium we could come into agreement on, because at the end of the day, we still want the best for all our children in the state of Georgia. We don't disagree on that. We might disagree on the method of how we're going to get there, but we can agree on even with accountability. It has to start. And if you're going to make accountability, make it across the board. Don't select and choose. The other thing I'm going to say, and then I'm going to get off of this and continue on with the good, bad, and to say what? So why is there always a debate about school choice when it comes to kindergarten through 12th grade education? I have not heard any of the opponents say anything about Georgia pre-K program or the CAPS program. And so for those who don't know about the CAPS program, that's for lower income parents who need help, a subsidy to help pay for their child care. Y'all know child care is very expensive. So they receive a subsidy, additional amount that goes to their provider, early child center provider, to help offset what the parents have to come out of pocket to pay. Guess where that money comes from, y'all? Taxpayer money. And guess who can use it? Public and privately owned early learning center, or some people say child care centers. Isn't that taking money away from public schools? Yes, it is. Okay, second point. Why is there no argument with the opponents when it comes down to the federal Pell Grant money? So for those who might not remember back about when you was in college and you had to fill out that FAFSA, and that FAFSA told you, okay, this is how much money is set aside for you per whatever the school that you're enrolled into. That's what? Taxpayer money. It's no different than what we're talking about kindergarten through 12th money. It's no different than Georgia pre-K. Because guess what? The Pell Grant money can be spent on where? Public and private colleges and universities. So those colleges like Morehouse, Spelman, Clark, Atlanta, Mercer, Agnes Scott, all the other private, that's it, Spelman, yeah, Morris Brown, Brenal, all of those universities can use the federal Pell Grant money for the college students that are attending their college to help offset that. That's taxpayer money. Why are you not saying nothing about that money not going to state public funded education? What about the state colleges and universities we have here? We have some great universities. Why not? Why that Pell Grant money got to go over there? Why it can't stay within the state public universities like Georgia State, Fort Valley State, Savannah State, Albany State, Georgia Tech, Columbus State University, all these other colleges we got across the state? Why the money just can't be allocated to them? Okay, that's my point, the 2 points I want to make. So we're going to move on. So that's the part I can't understand when the argument comes up about school choice. It's never public funds across the board from early learning to college. It's always K through 12. And you wonder, why is it just K through 12? I'm going to throw this little tidbit in and I'm going to keep it moving. K through 12 are the only ones that have unions, teachers unions. You don't have teachers unions in early learning center atmosphere. And I don't know of any that's on the college level. I could be wrong, but I know there are plenty K through 12 in our public school systems. Okay, I'll move on. All right, other bills that need to be, and that's a say what? Say what? Yeah, that's a say what. Okay, health, Senate Bill 107, or what's called the ISIS law, will require the Georgia Department of Public Health to develop a model safety plan for private swim instructors. And that's supposed to start January 1st, 2024. So that's pretty good, that now it has to have a plan for anyone who's going to be a private swim instructor. Okay, HR, which is House Resolution 603, established a House Study Committee on the Certificate of Need and how to modernize that particular bill. So this particular committee will decide whether Georgia should continue its certificate of need, or some people say CON, C-O-N, and now I don't mean like a con artist. That's not what it means. It's just they use abbreviations a lot in government. And so they're going to decide whether they need to continue this program due to federal regulations that are being repealed. They have been repealed about whether one particular hospital, those hospitals in a particular area, can continue to monopolize. So what happens is, anytime a new hospital clinic wants to open up, they have to come before the state to get permission. And what usually happens, the existing hospitals usually fight back against it because they're now going to be competing for customers. And so they only are allowed so many beds that they can open up and operate in the hospital. But what if the need is larger than that? And you have seen a lot of that in our rural areas. Now, there could be some other stuff going on. I don't know. I'm not going to speak on that, but I'm just giving the basis of what certificate of need is. I'll give you another example. When I was in the House, you had the Georgia Centers for Cancer Treatment Centers of America, located down in Coweta County. And so I remember there was some stuff back and forth when they wanted to expand, because they were getting more cancer patients in Georgia that wanted to be able to come to their services. They liked their services better than they liked the other hospital. But then there was a fight, argument, debate between that. Well, no, we don't need to let them expand. And they said, well, we got the people. We doing good customer service. Whatever we're doing, they like it. Why they can't come and be at our hospital? So there's always a debate when it comes down to that. And that's actually up on the Regulated Industries Committee. All right, SB 195. Okay, we still have about a little bit more time, about 20 minutes left. So I think we're going to make it through all of these. Now, these are not all the bills. Usually during the session, there are over probably about 2,000 bills that are introduced. Maybe, and then going through the process, at the end of the day, maybe about 235, maybe 250 actually make it to the governor's desk. So there are a lot of bills that are introduced, because that's one of the rights of a legislator. Introduce whatever bill you want to introduce. You can introduce a bill, say, I think every day people should come outside, look up in the sky. If it's a blue sky, they need to shout out, blue sky. I know it sounds crazy, but that's the right of a legislator, to be able to introduce bill, whether it makes sense to you or not. So now we're going on to, let's get back to the education part. So we just, Senate Resolution 175 says that, oh, hold on, let me go back. Senate Bill 195 requires an expedited license by endorsement for spouses of active or transitioning armed forces members. So this is dealing with the military. So what they have come up with this particular bill is that sometimes because of military, they have the spouses are very transitory. And so they may have worked somewhere else and had a license, but see, you all might not have knew that because you had a license in one state, you have to make sure that it's acceptable in the other state that you're going to. So what this bill says is that whole process is going to be expedited or done more quickly, and it has to be done within 30 days from receipt of the application. So you can no longer drag it out. It can no longer be drug out, because the longer they got to wait on the license, the shorter amount of time that they're able to actually come to work. And guess what? When they ain't working, we're not collecting taxes in the state of Georgia. Okay. And so they're using the current time now is 90 days. So now be reduced to 30 days. So 1 month versus 3 months. Okay. Senate Resolution 175 will create a joint study committee for highly skilled, talented at younger ages. So this particular committee would examine ways to promote workforce training in different sectors or areas seeking skilled labor, including healthcare, manufacturing, construction, automotive, aviation, technology, software, and public safety. And for those of you all who've heard me talk over the past, we talked about the high career demand initiative jobs. Those areas where I just read off are those areas where the state technical college system of Georgia have always had, I know since Governor Deal, have always had a focus in those particular areas. And that's where the state has been busily recruiting other companies to come here in those sectors. Now, there are a lot of companies that are already existing here that need workforce. And workforce goes back to what? Education. So we don't have a good foundation in education. It's not going to make a hill of beans that the state of Georgia is going to offer these particular more workforce and resources for these skilled labor in these areas. It's not going to make a difference if they can't read and they can't do math. So that's why we got to go back to what I was talking about, fixing that formula and making sure the kids are getting it from early education, early learning, all the way up to K through 12. So this committee is going to examine establishing an accelerated career dual enrollment program with 2 years of high school academic courses, plus a completion of an associate's degree, a technical college diploma, or a technical certificate. The program will allow students starting their sophomore year, which is their 10th grade year, to work for a local employer as part of their course of study and training. This is not the law, y'all. This is just a committee to study. I don't know why they need a committee to study. You already know it needs to be done. So what usually happens with study committees is when you have one side, they can't get the other side to agree. They say, okay, well, let's sit down and study. But you all already know, like I said, it's already a part of the high demand career initiative. We already have a program of career dual enrollment. They removed that. I don't know if y'all remember me talking about that when I was at the Capitol, about them reducing. It used to be in 9th grade that the students could start dual enrollment. That means going to college, taking college courses and high school courses. It got reduced that you got to start in the 11th grade now, which is crazy. So now this particular study committee is now going to say, let's look at 10th grade for students being able to take those courses, and upon completion, they can either get their associate's degree, which is a 2-year degree, their technical college diploma, or a technical certificate. Guess what, y'all? There's already a program that already been existing in Georgia, down in Coweta County. I visited that program several times, very successful. So I'm believing that that's who's probably been pushing this, and they've been pushing for a passage of it. But since they can't get a passage, they said we'll do a study committee. So for those of you all who are in those industries of healthcare, manufacturing, construction, automotive, aviation, technology, software, and public safety, then you need to make sure you're paying attention to Senate Resolution 175, because it's going to be a game changer for those in Georgia. But let me tell you about that program. It's called the Central Education Center, Central CEC, down in Coweta County, and y'all can look it up. And what they have already been doing, I know for some years now, they've been existing a long time. What they do is they allow the students starting in 10th grade to be able to go to school, also go to technical college, and also work on at a company on location at the company, and they get paid. So that at that time when they had it, it started off with $8 an hour your sophomore year. Then your 11th grade year, you earn $9 an hour, and then your senior year, you were earning $10 an hour. Now, mind you all, they were gaining skills. So they're getting their high school work done. Then they're also they're getting their work for their associate's degree. And then they're also working on the job so that when they finish and graduated high school, they have their associate's degree and they already have a training in a skilled trade for that particular company. So the company has now opened up a pipeline for a workforce for them that they don't have to go out there trying to search it for some other employees. They got a straight pipeline. And if these school districts are smart and these local economic development organizations, development authorities, some of them have already jumped on this. And because it's going now automatically, those kids start off with a minimum of $65,000 as 18-year-olds that they're earning because they got the qualification. They don't have to go to no more school if they don't want to. If they do, that's good. But they start now being able to work. So I think that's a great one. I'm definitely going to be following Senate Resolution 175. Okay. Government Affairs. This came out of Government Affairs Committee. Senate Bill 222 prohibits county and municipal government and employees or election officials from soliciting or taking otherwise accepted money from any person or organization for the purpose of conducting or supporting primaries and elections. Okay, House Bill 88, the Coleman-Baker Act, will require law enforcement agencies to conduct a thorough review of an original cold case murder investigation that can date back all the way to the 1970s if there's a written request to determine if a new investigation should be started that could potentially bring about new leads or identify a likely perpetrator. And you might wonder, why is this? My assumption would be, with the increase in technology availability with DNA testing, you had to find out a whole lot more than you did in the 70s, in the 80s, and the 90s about some people have committed these murders. So that's what that particular bill would do. Now, let's talk about ethics bills. They're always a hot topic. And I only have about maybe 10 minutes left, and I think I could get through it. So, ethics shapes itself in the form of accountability to citizens, but you have to read and comprehend carefully. And so this is part of my Say What segment that's blended into the good, the bad, and the Say What? Yes. So Senate Bill 92 had a companion House version. Y'all remember me discussing that, about creating a prosecuting attorneys qualification commission, or for district attorneys who have unethical behavior, they can be removed from their office. All the prosecutors district attorneys are elected, so that's why I'm specifically talking about this. Now, so that's one ethics bill. Now, as it relates to Clayton County, there's some hot stuff going on down that state capitol about Clayton County ethics bill. So there have been efforts in the past to change the current ethics commission so it has teeth. Right now, if a citizen brings an accusation to the commission, county commission, or to the current ethics commission, it can be investigated and then they give a report to the county commissioners. But if it involves one of the commissioners, they can vote to dismiss it. Or if it's someone that they may have appointed on the board and they don't want to move forward with it, they can still decide. They have the final say so on what happens with their ethics. Well, there are citizens who don't agree. I don't agree that the county commission should have the last say so when it comes to ethics issue, because they are elected officials. So Some years back, I even formed task force, ethics task force. And then most recently, a couple of years ago, this issue was brought up and they started meeting, the citizens started meeting about it. Now, House Bill 678 would require a code of ethics for members of the Board of Commissioners, as well as for appointees to various county boards and county employees. So not just a commissioner, but those who they appoint on these different boards. And also if you're a county employee, you work for the county. All right. It was local legislation, which means it only applied to Clayton County, not anywhere else in the state. It passed out of the House unanimously, but was voted down in the Senate. One of the senators asked her colleagues to join her and voted no. She went to the well. The well is like the podium that's located in each one of the chambers, and told them to vote no. So the vote was taken. There were 4 that voted yes and 49 that voted no. Now this is an ethics bill now. Okay, I'm gonna break it down for you real quick. It's always interesting when not everyone agrees. So this was not a Democratic versus Republican issue. You all, if you look at the votes, and you all could definitely check out Clayton Crescent. Robin Kim did a great job with her reporting, and you can be able to hear the video where the senator is speaking, and you can be able to see how the votes went, and you can look at the people whose name voted no, and those who voted yes. It had nothing to do with a party, nothing to do with Democrat or Republican. So I want to take that off the table, okay? It was an internal agreement whenever local bills come to the floor that legislators should vote with the legislator who represent that particular area. So in this case, there were 2 senators that represent Clayton County, the only 2. And both of them agreed that they weren't gonna support the bill. So they asked their colleagues, hey, y'all join with us and don't support this bill. And that's what most of the colleagues did. 49 of them agreed with them, okay? Now, some people may say, well, how they just vote against an ethics bill? Well, there are a lot of contributing factors to it. And many times, a lot of the legislators that voted against it, I guarantee you had not read the bill all the way through. And one reason is because, first of all, it's sign and die, which is the last day of legislative session. You got hundreds and hundreds of bills coming before you on your desk that have amendments, stuff that been taken out of the original bill, added in, and everything moves just like this, fast, fast, fast. And because it was local legislation, which means it didn't have nothing to do with their particular district. So they were depending on the truth from that particular, those legislators that represent that, in this case, that Senate district, to go ahead and tell them, yeah, y'all vote with me. I know what I'm talking about. And that's what they did. Now, what I suggest is those who live in Clayton County, those Clayton County residents who disagree with what happened, contact those senators and find out, ask them, why did you vote against an ethics bill that was going to help our county? And they may not answer you because they don't have to, because you didn't elect them, but find somebody in their district who is their constituent and have them to call and say, you are my elected official. I want to know why you voted no on that Clayton County bill. Now, that's a whole nother conversation because that's their elected, that's their constituent. So that's how you get around that. But I have personally witnessed a case that came before Clayton commissioners for an appointee on the board where the ethics commission for the county had made a recommendation that that person be removed. It went before the county commissioners, and I don't think the person got removed. He did it later on, but it took a long time. Now, let's talk about ethics overall. I only have about 5 minutes left, y'all. I'm trying to roll through it. Okay, when President Trump, the then President Trump, was impeached by the Dems for what? Unethical behavior. Right now, what recently happened with the indictment in Manhattan for what? What was that charge for? Unethical behavior. Now, when you look at Senate Bill 92 for the creation of ethics commission for the prosecutors, the one I just told you about, district attorneys, why was that created? For unethical behavior. So right now, the state has a judicial qualifications commission, which oversees all the judges in the state. For what reason was it created? You got it, unethical behavior. So now, let me add something else to it. The House and the Senate both have ethics committees that are independently created to investigate allegations of ethics violation made by the general public, which is you, and this according to OCGA 451090, or by any staff. So if there's a staff person that works at the state capitol or works for one of the legislators, they can bring ethics charges against a House member or a Senate member. So there's also a Georgia Campaign and Finance Commission who hears complaints on people who are candidates or former or current elected officials with unethical behavior on campaign finances and accepting non-qualified donations. So guess what? Now, my original point is, why would those senators vote no? That is a question that y'all gonna have to ask, because if you start tracking back their votes and what they've been saying, just say the Democrats who always holler about unethical behavior by the then president, you know who, then why would you as a Democrat vote against an ethics bill that is to make sure that people are doing what they were supposed to do when they became elected, like the then you know who president was? And then for the Republicans who are saying we got this prosecuting district attorney bill that we are putting forth because of unethical behavior, we supported the Judicial Qualifying Commission, which is the JQC, for unethical behavior. We supported changing the Georgia Campaign Finance Commission because of unethical behavior. So why was that bill actually voted down? I don't know. So kudos out to local activist Carol Yancey. This is in the Clayton Crescent, who did this report, and a group of citizens called the Citizens Focus Group, who came to the Clayton legislative delegation way ahead of time. So that's stuff about somebody said they didn't know about it. They got the information now. Whether they read the email or stayed engaged in what's going on, that's a whole nother question. Y'all have to ask them that question. I don't count for nobody but myself. I'm just laying out the things that I know as a former legislator and what can go down at that state capitol. So I just wanted to say that up. The bill should not have been voted down. And now it allows for continuous potential abuse of power by local officials and their appointees. So now the bill was voted down. So guess what? The House delegation, Representative Scott, will have to start all back over, putting an ad in the paper, going through the whole process to get the House to vote it again. Then for it to go to the Senate, it's a lot of work that was unnecessary. So you all need to look into that. So I'm at 1 minute left. You know, my say what and all that was included is every day there are situations happening all around us that make us want to say, what in the what? So this legislative session was a what in the what? So of course I talked about those 40 days that the governor has to sign those bills. Quick announcement, the Oluwu of Owu, His Royal Majesty Professor Saka A. Matimi Lola, I've been practicing y'all, will be visiting Georgia for the first time in May of this year. He is the paramount Yoruba king of Owu Kingdom, which is the first kingdom of the Yoruba tribe. And we're excited to hear him. He's coming to do a lecture on the Yorubas and the transatlantic slave trade. We're excited, y'all. So if you all want to help work on that committee, we're already in the process of planning. We already get things together. You know how to find me on Facebook, or you can email me, contact@ghoststovall.com. A quick synopsis. I know it's 5 o'clock. We're at the top of the hour. It's that I've been working with the Yoruba Celebration Day since 2019. Not having no idea that my granddad's side, was actually 100% Yoruba. So it's just amazing how the ancestors work. I'm gonna leave it at that. I'll talk more about it next, my next episode or next show. So time has called us. All good things must come to an end. Don't fret. Guess what? We're going to be back Monday, April the 17th with some more great topics. The goals of Issues and Answers with yours truly, Honorable Stovall, is to educate you on those things you might not think about unless you're in a situation to be concerned. And we are always concerned. If you have any show ideas, you can follow me. Of course, I'm on Facebook, Twitter, LinkedIn, Instagram, and YouTube. And you can always follow us on WCEG Talk Radio. My email is contact@gostovall.com. Thank you so very much for listening, and we will see you all the next time. All right, have a good afternoon. You talk every minute.